So we got UFC 284 just a couple of weeks away. It's going to take place at the Rock Arena in Perth, Western Australia. We're going to have Alexander Volkanovski going up against Islam Makhachev. You got number one versus number two pound for pound. It's literally a fight forward to see who gets that number one pound for pound spot. So it's going to be very, very interesting to watch. But yes, I did want to get into this fight because I do truly believe if Islam cannot secure a takedown on Volkanovski, then it's gonna not be a great night for him. Now, don't get upset. Don't get upset. Please allow me to explain myself, and we can get into how I think the fight's gonna play out. Stick with me, guys. I know some people don't like to do that. Stick with me and listen to what I'm saying. So let's get straight into it. So first things first, Volkanovski, the past couple people he's been facing have all been strikers. The last fighter that he did fight was Chad Mendes, who was a wrestler. So we're not even going to get into the other people that he fought because they were all strikers. But outside of those strikers, he did go up against Brian Ortega. And yes, he did dominate that fight, but he was nearly submitted by Brian Ortega in like two different scenarios. One was like more of like a guillotine and the other was like a triangle choke. So Volk definitely was almost subbed, but Brian Ortega is not known to be a super heavy wrestler. So we got to go all the way back to UFC 232, Jones versus Gustafsson 2, when Volkanovski faced off against Chad Mendes. So first things first, the way how this fight went was, in the first round, there were some striking exchanges. And on, Chad Mendes' first takedown attempt, Volkanovski did stuff it, but Chad Mendes didn't really fully commit until his second takedown attempt, and he got it literally instantly. But Volkanovski did immediately get back up to his feet. He was able to slide backwards to the cage and use that cage to get back up to his feet. And that's pretty much how round one went in that fight. So in round two, Volkanovski actually did get dropped by Chad Mendes. And after that, he was able to actually bounce back, get back up. He put some pressure on, landed some strikes, and he got taken down again while pressuring forward. So even though he was actually in a position to land strikes, he was like kind of pressuring forward, and Chad Mendes was able to get a takedown. So Volk once again was able to get back up quickly, but he did get taken down again for a third straight time in the middle of the cage. And Mendes also took Volkanovski's back. So a lot of dangerous positions that Volkanovski ended up in that fight. And guys, that was the last time that Volkanovski actually faced a fighter that was actually a wrestler. He hasn't faced a wrestler since. If you look at his most recent opponents, 3 times he fought Max Holloway. He fought the Korean Zombie. He fought Jose Aldo. He fought Brian Ortega. So none of these guys are known to be wrestlers. There's not usually ever really any wrestlers at 145. That's one thing that I've noticed. There's never really wrestlers there. But yeah, that's how, it went. Chad Mendes, the second round for him was great. But he had a really, really bad gas tank. He wasn't able to keep up with the pace of Volkanovski, and I think that was a separation for him. He just wasn't able to keep up with the pace. So all in all, Volkanovski was able to get the finish. But if we're talking about what would happen in an instance with Islam, I'm not sure. It would, definitely doesn't really look too good. Now, if we switch over to Islam, he has one loss. And, that loss came all the way back in 2015 versus Adriano Martins. But, the fight was pretty quick. Both guys were in a southpaw stance. Islam was very aggressive in the stand-up. But he didn't shoot not one takedown because he did respect his opponent's wrestling. It was kind of like a canceling out situation, kind of like Colby Covington versus Usman, where none of them really shot. None of them really shot for takedowns or at all because they, the respect for the wrestling was there. So they fought southpaw the entire fight. But, Martins was able to land an overhand right on Islam, and it was like a one-punch KO. So that would be the only way I could see Volkanovski being able to do something, maybe if they're in a southpaw stance. But Volkanovski's never really sitting in a southpaw stance. He's a great striker. He is able to switch stance, but he's more orthodox than anything. But if he would sit in southpaw, maybe he could find an opening. But in terms of the takedowns, man, it's just really, it's not really looking too good for Volkanovski. And I say that because Chad Mendes was actually able to get 3 out of 4 takedowns on a bad gas tank. Chad Mendes is not known to really have great cardio anyways, but he was still able to get 3 out of 4 takedowns, and he was able to take Volkanovski's back. So that's just really bad. Yes, Volkanovski was able to scramble and get out of those positions and get back up to his feet. But it's going to be a lot more different when you're going against a guy like Islam that's just so strong on top. In terms of the striking department, Volkanovski lands about 7 strikes per minute, and he's hit about 4 times. And Islam lands about 2 strikes per minute. He's hit about once, but it's very short in the striking exchange for Islam because he's always grappling people, so they're not really able to hit him much. And Islam does average 3 takedowns per fight, so he's definitely going to obviously shoot on Volk. And Volk's takedown defense is a 73%, so it's not horrible, but it's not something that's like superb either. It's not like, oh my god, hey, Volk is definitely gonna take down. And Volk is, and not Volk, but Islam is more accurate on the feet too. So all in all with this fight, I know what I said in the beginning, obviously, but that's only assuming that Islam can't get a takedown, guys. That's why I said to stick with me. That's only assuming that Islam Makhachev can't get a takedown, and he's more than likely gonna be able to get a takedown. And it's probably going to be a really, really, really bad night for Volk. Now, if for some reason Islam cannot secure a takedown, then it's going to be different. In the face-off that they had, Volkanovski is definitely shorter than Islam. I don't know how much that would be able to help him. Volkanovski's literally 5'6", and Islam Makhachev is 5'10". So if for some reason he can't get in on the short legs of Volkanovski, it may be a problem. But hey, there's other ways to get a takedown. He could do a body lock. He could do a trip. There's different ways you could get him down. Judo throw, whatever you want to do. But yeah, that's the only way, because if they're forced to stand on the feet, then yes, Islam will be picked apart. His striking, he was able to knock down Charles Oliveira. But let's be honest, Charles Oliveira is getting knocked down in all of his fights, so we can't really count that. That's more of a defensive problem on Charles Oliveira's part. But yeah, that's the way how I see the fight playing out, guys. It's number 1 versus number 2 pound for pound. So it's like we're talking about the best in the UFC right now, the best. So yeah, definitely was very alarming how the fight played out for Volkanovski versus Chad Mendes. So I see that happening, but I think Volkanovski possibly could even be finished. Like, it wouldn't really surprise me, because if you're gonna allow Chad Mendes to get your back, and you're gonna allow him to take you down 3 out of 4 times, you're not gonna be able to get back you're not going to be able to get back up at the same pace versus Islam. That's a difference. Islam will be able to push the pace for an entire 5 rounds. He will not stop. So that's the case. That's what's gonna happen in terms of how the fight will play out. And yeah, you guys let me know what you think, man. I think I pretty much touched base on the basics of everything. I don't see how the fight could really play out much different unless 2 things can go great for Volkanovski. If he decides to fight in southpaw and looks to land that overhand right, and if he's able to actually stuff some takedowns. That's the only way the fight can somehow go good for him. But that's more just hoping or dreaming or wishing, versus with Islam, it's a lot more likely that he will be able to secure takedowns, and win the fight that way, either by decision or by finish. So let me know what you guys think. I told y'all to stick with me. I wanted to break down the fight in terms of what I felt in totality from it. Yeah, you guys let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. Drop a like, comment, subscribe. Hey, it's your boy Jar Blessed, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.